My name is Debbie Alamrew. I'm a poet based in Brooklyn, New York, and I've been in Addis since January of this year. So little Debbie was born in London and then spent my childhood in Nigeria before going back to London and then moving to the US at 17. So very early on, I was exposed to the world in a global citizen kind of way. I spent every summer coming back to Ethiopia, and I think that shaped a big part of who I am, just being able to understand identities, cultures, people. But little Debbie was also very curious. So I would people watch hard. I used to just observe all the time. And I was very painfully shy, which I think is funny for people to hear if you know me today. But I barely spoke. I would just watch how people interacted, how they moved in spaces. And I learned so much just about people in general doing that. But yeah, little Debbie was a curious one. I first started writing because I didn't know where else to put the emotions. I barely spoke about my emotions, and so the only way to let it out was really to put pen to paper. So I wrote everything, but it wasn't necessarily structured. I wasn't writing poetry super early. I would just have journals and I would just do a emotion spill. I would write out everything I was feeling, and I felt deeply always. So whatever that emotion was, whether it was joy, grief, sadness, whatever, I just wrote about it. When I first started writing poetry, it was truly kind of like prayer. It was very sacred and personal for me. It was a way for me to connect with myself. It was almost like an upgrade from just writing, and it was being able to structure my emotions, kind of gave me control over my emotions in a way as well. Being able to structure them in rhyme, rhythm, stanzas, and just do like fun like writing techniques with how I felt gave me control over who I was. So I was never supposed to share my poetry with anyone. Like it was personal. And when I was in college, there was a talent show, and a friend of mine was like, Debbie, you should sign up for the talent show. I was like, girl, I don't have a talent to put on a stage. I don't sing, I don't rap. But ironically, I grew up watching Def Poetry Jam. I just never connected that my words could be shared on a stage. So I signed up and I performed, and I was so nervous. I remember just like shaking, standing in front of the mic, seeing like an auditorium full of my like classmates. And the reaction I got from that first performance changed everything for me. I didn't realize the impact that my words could have on others, which is ironic because I've been impacted by so many powerful poets, writers, lyricists. But hearing that my words were able to impact others, that definitely changed the trajectory for me as a poet. So A Purpose Pursued Passionately is Powerful was my debut spoken word poetry book. And that changed a lot because I really delved into my identity and who I was. So I tapped into 4 themes that had really shaped my life up until that point. So there's legacy, love, loss, and liberation. And I was very proud of that, being kind of my first child that I was putting out into the world. And with Amplified Voices, I learned the power of platform. I was working with Amplify Africa, and it was an opportunity to tap into my hosting and interviewing skills. And I would interview just influential, innovative Black individuals who worked in everything from entertainment, art, tech, media, business, and really like uncover what their journey looked like. And I learned that so many of us have a similar journey or have been through similar experiences, but learning that someone else is going through it or how they overcame it definitely is impactful in the sense of figuring out your own journey. So I think in the simplest form, it's when people told me after performances, the most powerful thing that can happen for an artist is someone coming up to you and saying, your words impacted me. I didn't know how to express that myself. And that is, I think, when I learned poetry's not mine to keep, right? Like my words aren't mine to keep. Sharing is so much more powerful because you can connect with audiences around the world, and my personal lived experience has the ability to resonate with someone else's heart. Uncovering Me is the project that I am most proud of to date. That's my baby. If I had a favorite child, that would be it. Mainly because I really wanted to showcase who I am. And I'm a proud Ethiopian, I'm an African, I'm a Black woman, and that's my identity. All of those things have fundamentally shaped who I've become as a person. It was incredibly important for me to record that project in Ethiopia. So I came out here for 6 months last year. I recorded at Dink Studios, and I worked with an incredibly talented producer, Sammy Stickbreaker. And the key thing about that is it was my first time combining poetry and music together. So it was very important for me that emotions were evoked in a powerful way. So if I have a poem that is about grief, then I wanted the chords to be reflective of that. So working here, I was able to tie in Ethiopian sounds with my words. Unquestionably, my parents. I don't think there's any bigger sacrifice than that of immigrant parents. So, they provided me with so many resources and opportunities that I'm so incredibly grateful for. It was all at their own expense because they wanted me to have a better life than they did. And I actually have a poem on my album titled Daughter of Immigrants, and that is something a lot of people have told me that they've resonated with. On the writing side, as a woman, I'm deeply inspired by writers like Maya Angelou, Toni Morrison, Nikki Giovanni, Sonia Sanchez. I think what I learned was the power of vulnerability. I learned the power of vulnerability through them, and that's how I try to show up as a writer as well. Another poet that I'm inspired by is a friend of mine, Jay Ivy, who showed me kind of how you can elevate your career as a poet. So he used to do Def Poetry Jam and poetry shows, but he was the first person I really saw cross over into music in the way when he collaborated with Kanye West and Jay-Z on the track Never Let Me Down, which I absolutely love his verse on that track. He also worked recently with the Recording Academy to create a Best Spoken Word Poetry category. So I think that's also a reminder that we can always be elevating and reinventing ourselves as poets. So that's who I'm most inspired by. I truly just hope that readers find permission to be their truest selves and to just not be afraid. But if you are afraid, to do it afraid. It's okay to be scared, just do it scared anyway. And I hope that people understand from my writing that healing is not linear and identity is layered. And it's okay to keep reinventing and discovering yourself. And your story, no matter how messy or how unfinished, is perfect the way it is. It is still writing itself. You just have to trust the journey and trust yourself. I would say just start where you are. Don't wait for things to be perfect. It's never gonna align exactly how you want. So just start where you are now and do it. And remember that your story cannot be told by anyone but you. So write your story, share your story, and if you're afraid, do it afraid.